Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you guys a 12-team PPR mock draft for the 2021 NFL season. Now, do not fret. This is not going to be some very long video where I do all 15 rounds of the draft, because frankly, that would just be kind of stupid to be going super deep into it when the season is not even over. So, we're just going to get a look ahead of how I feel about the first two rounds of the 2021 early mock drafts. Things from right now in December, as you guys are watching this, maybe in January of next year, that does not apply at all until August. It does not have anything to do with it, but it's interesting to kind of gauge how you feel immediately after the season versus how you feel a couple of months from now to really gauge your understanding, because right now your mind is going to be very fresh to what happened, and then everything's going to change. People are going to change teams, all other types of stuff are going to happen. So don't take this as my heart as 100% what I'm going to be feeling in August, but it's what I feel right now as the season comes to a close in week 17. If you guys do want more content from me, you enjoy this video, you want more fantasy football content, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I post content every single day to help you guys win your 2020 fantasy football championship, and next year I'm gonna help you win that 2021 title. So let's get into it. So the first pick of the draft is obviously going to be pretty tough this year, in my opinion. At the number one spot, we typically would lean running back, obviously, right guys? At this point, there's no true reason to lean wide receiver at the one spot when you could probably get the wide receiver one at pick number 4. It's better to just get one of those workhorse guys. Now, I understand getting one of those workhorse guys this year resulted in complete and utter failure. Besides a couple of guys, you drafted Saquon at the 101. That was wrong. He got hurt. He failed. Christian McCaffrey, you drafted him at the 101. Just like that, he failed as well due to injury. If you went ahead and went with Zeke, he failed due to Dak's injury. So what do you do now this year at the 101? Do you dip back into the well, or are you going a guy like Alvin Kamara, who right now, in my opinion, just cannot be the 101? But Nick, you scored like 6 touchdowns last week. I know. I saw it too, but with what we know right now going into the 2021 season, we don't know if Drew Brees is going to be there or not. We saw when Taysom Hill was the quarterback of that team that Alvin Kamara's workload went down because Taysom Hill would rather run the ball. Now, do we see something different? Do we see Jameis under center? I don't know. So as of right now, Alvin Kamara to me would not be a consideration as the number one pick, but if I'm being honest with you, probably by August, he actually will end up being that. Do you dip back into the well with a guy like Christian McCaffrey, who was out all season, but when he played pretty good? Saquon Barkley. Do they kind of fix this Giants team? Is Daniel Jones the answer, or do they go with a new quarterback in the first round of next year's draft? They may end up making the fucking playoffs this year. That's how crazy the NFC East is. So which way are we looking at the first pick? You could also be looking at Dalvin Cook, who is out obviously this week due to a different reason. Rest in peace to Dalvin Cook's father, obviously. That is a terrible situation to happen to Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry is a guy you could also lean as well at the 101. So in my opinion, I'm going to go with the tried and true 101, which is Christian McCaffrey. But Nick, he got hurt this year. You can't predict injuries on a guy who literally has only gotten hurt, I believe, this year. I'm pretty sure the rest of this man's slate has been very, very clean. We saw this year 25, 20, 27 when he played. The guy is simply a beast. In 2019, he played every single game. These are huge fucking numbers. 2018, the guy played every single game. He's a beast. In 2017, the guy, guess what, played every single game. He has been hurt for one season, and people are going to be scared to draft him. Do not fret. In my opinion, Christian McCaffrey was a beast last year. He was a beast this year. There's no reason to turn your back on Christian McCaffrey. But again, let me know down below in the comments who you guys prefer at each and every single spot. Am I completely off of this? Is it crazy town that I'm thinking Christian McCaffrey? Or are you guys on board with me at going CMC at the 101? Now on to the 102. And this also develops another question. Do you want to go back in the well with Saquon Barkley? Are you willing to forget what happened this season with Ezekiel Elliott? I'm not too sure I'm ready to do that yet. Why is that? Because I'm not even sure Dakota Prescott will be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys next year. Now, in my opinion, I think he will be. I would lean the way that he does become the quarterback next year, and they give him the biggest money that they could pay fucking Dak Prescott. But at the end of the day, right now, I don't know that. It's just an assumption. But in my opinion, I think the 102 is very easy here. Now, I knocked this guy all last year long for being injury prone. And he missed some games, but Dalvin Cook, when this man is healthy, is far too fucking good to be getting faded in any leagues. This guy could be the 101 in my opinion. Consistency every single goddamn game. This guy does not have a bad game. He's finishing as running back 2 right now, PPR, running back 2 in standard. This guy is a beast. This guy is built different. Dalvin Cook is just simply one of the best running backs in the NFL. Kirk Cousins will be back again. To me, this seems like a no-brainer at the 102 to lean with Dalvin Cook. Again, let me know where you guys are feeling on these picks. Now at the 103. Now we have drafted 2 running backs in a row. Will we stay on train with the running backs? And in my opinion, I still would. I am a very big fan of loading up on running backs early. You see some of these drafts, even last year, where people were really heavily leaning running back early. I've seen drafts where pretty much besides 2 picks in the first round, it was 10 fucking running backs. It was just a ridiculous amount of running backs because they fall off so fast. Now, if that was your strategy this year, kind of failed a little bit due to the injuries higher up. But with that said, I still think that may be the strategy coming into next year due to the running backs not being super deep, aside from this year where there was a lot of diamond in the roughs that were very helpful on a week-in, week-out basis. Now, at this point, do you consider drafting a wide receiver at the 103? Obviously, Michael Thomas did not pay off this year. The guy was just hurt the whole fucking season. I don't know what was happening, but you all know who did pay off, Davante Adams. But the question is he worth the 103? Is he better than a Saquon Barkley coming off of an injury? Is he more worth it than an Alvin Kamara coming off of potentially what could have been one of his best seasons in the NFL, but with the kind of not knowing what's going to happen at the quarterback position? Now, I don't think Taysom Hill is the answer, so I do think Alvin Kamara will actually be fine, and that's where I would lean here. But is there a reason to go Davante Adams here? There 100% is. Davante Adams was getting faded this year for no good reason. This guy is a simple fucking beast. 20 points every single game, locked and loaded every week, and insta 20 points. So you can think about drafting him here at the 103. Now, there are going to be people that are getting down on their knees for Mr. Travis Kelce, and I understand that. Travis Kelce has been amazing this season. Am I going to draft a tight end in the top 5, in the top 10? In my opinion, no. If I'm going to draft a tight end, it would be at the back half or the last 2 picks of the first round, but that's strictly based off of draft philosophy, how you like to kind of build your team. So we're not going to go Davante Adams just yet. He is likely going to be, in my opinion, the 4th or the 5th pick in the draft. And here I'm going to have to lean Alvin Kamara. We saw how well he played this year. I'm not going to fade away from him just because I think there's a chance Taysom Hill starts at the quarterback position. In reality, I don't feel like that's going to happen, but that is something that definitely could happen because it seems like Sean Payton is just blackmailed by Taysom Hill. Like, Taysom Hill just has a picture of Sean Payton doing coke off of a stripper's fucking titties or something. I don't understand why else, but with that said, Alvin Kamara will be my pick here at the 103. Now at the 104, we have to determine if we're going running back or if we're going with the tried and true wide receiver 1 of Davante Adams. In my opinion here, we'll probably be going running back here, and Saquon Barkley is coming off of that ACL tear, so there is definitely doubt in your mind that maybe you don't want to draft Mr. Saquon Barkley this year. Now, Saquon Barkley is best comparable to having a built different body, a guy like Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson tore his ACL and had one of the best NFL seasons ever. Now, can you say that's going to happen to Saquon Barkley? Maybe, maybe not. Saquon Barkley is legitimately a different breed of a fucking human. He is like a Marvel superhero. This guy, if you remember, not this season, but last season, this guy, he's projected to miss like 6 games. This motherfucker comes back 3 weeks later, puts the team on his back, and plays amazing. Or do you want to go with the safe bet? The safest bet here, in my opinion, is Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. You know he's not going to be getting that receiving workload. You 100% know that. Why? Because he simply just never catches the fucking ball. The ball never even gets thrown his way. But it does not seem to matter at all for Mr. Derrick Henry, a guy who's putting up 15-plus points every single game. Sure, he will have those down games due to the fact that he doesn't get a lot of receptions, which help boost you and give you a safer floor. But on a weekly basis, this guy's just getting so many touches that, in my opinion, it would be very hard not to pick him here at the 104, and that is exactly what I'm going to do with pick 104, is pick Mr. Derrick Henry. Now at the 105, we've talked about it this whole time, we're picking the receiver. This is a very safe pick, in my opinion. Davante Adams is on a upper echelon at the wide receiver position. I really don't see anyone on this screen that I would like more next year than Davante Adams. I think Michael Thomas could have a bounce back, but again, we don't know who the quarterback is, so that definitely puts some worry into my mind. So I'll happily go with Davante Adams here, who's been tearing it up with Mr. Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay this season. Looks like Rodgers may end up getting crowned that MVP. Now, obviously, next season, there could be a rookie up here getting drafted inside of the top 2 rounds. I 100% understand that. There could be a guy like fucking any of these running backs, Najee Harris, a guy out of Alabama. If he goes to the right spot, Travis Etienne, I believe is how he says his name, Etienne, something like that. If he goes to a good team, that guy could be a second-round pick as well. So you don't really know about that part, obviously, of the first 2 rounds. So I hope that was obvious that we're not going to be seeing any rookie running backs drafted just yet in these mocks. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. So now the question is, do we continue on the wide receiver train and maybe snag a guy like D-Hop or a guy like Tyreek Hill, who legitimately... man, this guy has beaten all my expectations. Just a complete monster. Games with 44 points, 23 points, 11, 21, 24. Just very safe this season, when in reality, I thought he would be more up and down, in my opinion, this year. But I'm going to hop back on the running back well, and call me crazy. Call me maybe. I just met you, and this is fucking crazy. But here's my number, so call me maybe. I'm thinking about Austin Ekeler here. Now, I think I would probably pick Saquon Barkley ahead of him, but there's some thoughts in my mind that just likes Austin Ekeler as much as I did last year, because I'm thinking they fire this fraudulent Anthony Lynn motherfucker and bring in a coach that actually has a cranium, has a fucking brain inside of there. It's just unbelievable. Austin Ekeler has so much potential and played really good this season, but he's not going to be my pick here. I like a lot. Now, I did see a mock draft, and I saw this man get drafted inside of the top 3 from a well-known, reputable source, and I was like, that seems a little bit crazy. James Robinson, we're not going to pick him here, but he's also a guy that's probably going to go inside these top 2 rounds. So, with my pick here, we're just going to go ahead and say, fuck it. I honestly do believe that Saquon Barkley will return to what he was, maybe even slightly worse, but you're getting him at a discount. He was normally like the number 1 or number 2 pick. Now you're getting him at 6. I understand there being, oh, Nick, I'm scared. He tore his ACL. You could easily fade him for that, right? But in the same way, you could fade him, and this guy could bend you over the table and rail you repeatedly, because that's how good Saquon Barkley is. So I'm going to take him here at the 106. Now at the 107, I'm here. We're going to be hopping back on the wide receiver train. Now, typically, again, I talked about how I really hammer into these running backs early on in the draft. But if I'm being honest with you, right here, there are so many talented wide receivers that I just feel like a bunch will come off the board due to how good they played. I think Calvin Ridley is a guy who may snag himself into the first round. Allen Robinson could find his way up this high, but we're going to go with tried and true DeAndre Hopkins here. I think that another year under the belt with Kyler Murray will create more consistencies. We've seen these down games, 3 points, 5 points, 5 points, 7, 4 points. The rest of the games he was playing very, very well. I think we see a lot more consistent version of DeAndre Hopkins this season, so I'm going to feel very confident in drafting him right here at the 107. I think this is a round where we see him get drafted in a lot of leagues this season. Next pick here, do we go back to receiver, or are we hopping back on the running back train? And I think, again, the first round is going to be heavily dominated by the running back, so I will dump back into the running back well. Now, how far back can you throw Ezekiel Elliott? You could probably throw him back harder than Cardi B throws that shit back, because I'm not too sure I know what's going to be happening in Dallas. I think if Dak Prescott's the quarterback, they fix the fucking offensive line issues. They fix the defense, because they're just getting fucking railed in these games. They are getting butt fucked without the use of any lube. And then they have no chance in these games, right? They're just playing from behind, and it's sad. It's so sad for Dallas, because if they're not playing by behind, if Dak didn't have to sling the ball 7 million times, Zeke would be good. So that's my issue. So I'm just going to go ahead and say fuck it. I am a risky type of fantasy football player. There are running backs that I love on here, and I'm going to go ahead and take them over Ezekiel Elliott. And the first one here is going to be 9-inch Nicholas Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. But Nick Kareem Hunt's there. I don't give two fucks. Nick Chubb and this Cleveland Browns offense under Kevin Stefanski has been unreal. Sure, you can categorize Nick Chubb potentially as a bust this year, right? Why would you categorize him that? Because he missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, but obviously one of those was a bye. So he missed 4 games, which screws people over, which makes guys look like a bust because they missed a couple of games. Do not fret, in my opinion, on Mr. Nick Chubb. I think he has yet another good season in 2021. I'm going to be selecting here at the 108. Next guy up here is going to be yet another running back because, like I'm saying, this is going to be a running back-led first round. Again, your guys are going to play in these leagues, I assume, where there's people who take a quarterback in the first round. Now, we're not going to talk about necessarily breaking down why that's such a dumb idea. It's pretty easy to tell, though, why that's a dumb idea. If you draft Lamar Jackson, your team probably fucking sucked. If you drafted Patrick Mahomes in the first round, your team likely fucking sucked. Do you want to know how you won your league this year? You drafted a guy like Kyler Murray later. You drafted a guy like Josh Allen later. You drafted maybe Aaron Rodgers later. You drafted someone later so that you could bolster your running back and receiver core early. A guy like Ryan Tannehill, a guy like, there's so many quarterbacks this year that really dominated that you could have found much later in the draft. A guy like Tom Brady. A guy like fucking Matthew Stafford at times was playing good. Justin Herbert went undrafted. These are the players that were winning you your league, not the guy you drafted in the first round. So here, we're going to hop back onto the running back train, and I think it's safe to say Austin Ekeler is going to be a top 12 pick yet again, and I'm going to buy back in on that again. But Nick, he got hurt this year. I'm not afraid of injuries. We haven't really seen injuries be too prevalent in Austin Ekeler's career. With Justin Herbert, he did look much better this season. Started off pretty bad and then had some pretty strong games. So I'm going to go ahead and buy back in on the Austin Ekeler train here and believe that he puts up a pretty solid season in 2020. Now, I understand earlier I may have been reading the standard numbers because I'm a bit of a dummy. But with that said, these guys have been very safe this season. I'm sorry if I read the numbers a little bit wrong, but we're already 17 minutes balls deep into this video, so we're just going to keep going. Austin Ekeler was on a train this year when healthy. I see no reason why he can't be a top 12 pick. Again, let me know if you think that I'm a dumbass on any of these picks and you think that this is completely unreasonable, that these guys would get drafted ahead of, say, maybe Aaron Jones. Maybe Zeke in your mind. Another guy who is going to be drafted inside the top 12, just like I was talking about before, is going to be Travis Kelce. Now, I'm not about drafting the tight end early, but man, oh man, did that pay dividends this season. You would have felt like a fucking genius had you have picked up a tight end like Travis Kelce or like Darren Waller in the first couple of rounds. You would have been winning your leagues because these guys are so dominant. I'm going to draft Travis Kelce here at the 110, not necessarily because that's what I think I would do, but what I think is going to happen in leagues is he's going to go from either the 110, I'd say, to the 2-3. There's no way this man falls outside of the second round, in my opinion, this year. Now at the 111, we are likely going to be looking back at the running back position. Is this where you pull the trigger on Ezekiel Elliott? Is it possible that this guy continues to fall back, 7,000 fucking rounds into your draft? Maybe. It is entirely possible because right now we have no idea what is going on with Ezekiel Elliott, and I don't feel ultra confident in going ahead and drafting him super early this season, so I'm probably going to go ahead and just say fuck it and fade this man into oblivion, probably till around here. I would have to feel like a dumbass if I missed out on a talent like Ezekiel Elliott, so he will be my 1.11 pick. I don't necessarily feel ultra safe with it as of right now, but I do think he will end up being a first-round pick when all things are said and done. Now at the 112, call me crazy, but I'm drafting him. James Robinson. There is no way, in my opinion, that these motherfuckers draft another guy. James Robinson is clearly their guy. This guy has been amazing this season. There's no way you run away from James Robinson with how he's played, with how little money they have to pay him. I think James Robinson is going to have yet another dominant season inside of the NFL. Now we're going to hop back on the wide receiver train and get Mr. Tyreek Hill here. I just feel like another great season out of Tyreek, another safe season. There's no way that he he really falls outside of the second round in these drafts, especially since Patrick Mahomes is just going to continue to sling the rock at an unprecedented rate. Now, we're back here, and we have a couple of questions here. I do think in your leagues, again, we talked about it earlier, there's going to be those dumb fucks who pick a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Happens every year. Inside this mock, I won't do it, but if you're playing in a normal league with your friends, let me know down below in the comments, actually. There's another question I got for you guys. How many people in your league drafted a quarterback in the first 2 rounds? Because in some of my leagues, there was none, right? My friends, they're just fucking wicked smart. They know how to waggle away from doing stupid shit like that. But in the past, I've seen guys drafting quarterbacks like pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. I see drafts. People send me, look at my team, and they show me the draft board. I'm like, which fucking dumbass picked the quarterback in the first 2 rounds? Now, understand that you're not a dumbass if you've done this in the past, because now you understand that you can change it. Do not draft a quarterback early. So, now, Joe Mixon. This is going to be a guy that I think falls very far, so I'm not going to pick him here. And I'm a Joe Mixon fan. I love Joe Mixon, but right now, I don't see a reason to be believing in this guy inside the second round. Now, Aaron Jones, is he back next season, is probably the biggest question we have for Aaron Jones. It has nothing to do with his talent. It does also have to do with how good Mr. A.J. Dillon is behind him. Have we seen A.J. Dillon become that guy? Did we see it last week? Does this mean now that Aaron Jones is going to be saying bye-bye, skedaddle? I don't know. I do not know. He's on a 4-year deal. This deal ends this year. He becomes a UFA next season. If he returns, I'm drafting him here. My assumption is that he returns, so I'm going to go ahead and draft him here at this spot. I think he is yet again going to be underrated and yet again overperform what everyone thinks about him. Now at the 203, we are going to hop back into the running back train, and call me crazy because I don't really like Josh Jacobs all that much next season. I'm going to probably be avoiding him going into this season because I don't feel ultra confident in the numbers that this guy is going to be putting up this season. To be honest, because who knows who the quarterback's going to be. The coaching change may end up happening. We've seen him not be ultra productive in the receiving game, even though he should be. So we're just going to go ahead and fade him and look back at the running back position. And I think David Montgomery is going to be this guy. He's ridden so hot late in the season that I think he is going to snag himself and be a second-round pick this season with a whole lot of upside. Next pick here, we're going to have to go with Jonathan Taylor. You have to believe in this offense being very run-heavy. There should be a quarterback switch going into this season, but this guy has been unreal this year. I could even argue Jonathan Taylor getting drafted ahead of a guy like David Montgomery based upon upside, but personally, we've seen both of these guys do it, so let me know which guy you prefer better, Jonathan Taylor or David Montgomery. Now is when we typically see, oh shit, all the good running backs are gone. And then the wide receiver train happens. Now, I'm not going to be drafting CEH this year, just like I didn't draft them last year. The backfield in Kansas City doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. The upside was there this year. It did not land, so I'm going to be hitting him with the Michael Jordan fadeaway, and here is when we are going to see the wide receiver hammer happen. Now, the question is which wide receivers are going to be hammered at this spot inside of the second round, because we're probably going to be seeing a wide receiver train. Julio Jones, death taxes Julio Jones, top 2 picks. Those are the 3 inevitable things in life. Julio Jones always gets drafted in the fucking second round, the first round. He's never going to fade away from that unless the guy ends up dying now. But Nick, he's been injured this year. It doesn't matter. Everyone's still going to buy back into this guy, even though there's definitely reasoning to think Calvin Ridley may be the better pick this year ahead of him, but I do think Julio Jones still ends up being this really high draft pick, just like he always is. So I'm going to draft him here at this spot inside of the second round. Next receiver we're going to be picking here, because I think this is what's going to happen. There's going to be receiver trains. We see this every single year inside of, especially last year inside the second round. I think a guy named DK Metcalf gets drafted super highly this season. The guy has been unreal. I understand that he has put up some stinkers as of recently because Seattle hasn't looked that great. This is going to be his 3rd year in the NFL. This guy is continuing to get better year in, year out, and I'm going to draft him here at the 206. I just don't see a way that he is not a second-round pick based upon the performance he put up thus far this season, so I'm going to be selecting Mr. DK here. Next pick here, I think it continues with the wide receiver train because the running backs are a little bit suspect here. And I'm going to go ahead and land a guy by the name of Allen Robinson. I think there is a complete and utter change of scenery here that dictates this pick, though. Allen Robinson, in my opinion, will not be a Chi-Town Bear come next season. He is going to be hopefully a Miami Dolphin as a Dolphins fan, but he may end up elsewhere. But I do love this guy. He's fucking put up humongous numbers with these not no-name quarterbacks. Blake Bortles he's done it with. Blake Bortles is not very good. He's done it with Mitch Trubisky, done it with Nick Foles. It does not matter who the quarterback is. Just imagine a guy with a semblance of talent gets to go ahead and play with Allen Robinson. This is going to be a nasty combo. Now, I think some people are going to hop back onto the running back train. A guy like Miles Sanders is going to fly off the board, but at a later kind of pick, due to the unknowns around Philadelphia right now, and due to the fact that for some reason Miles Sanders just keeps getting cucked on the goal line, keeps getting cucked, he does all this rushing, does all the stuff, does everything to get them up the field, and then they bring in Boston Scott. Maybe the coaching change potentially could be seen there, but right now I'm very nervous about Miles Sanders for probably a third year in a row. Josh Jacobs, he'll get picked here because once all these wide receivers go, then people start panicking again. Holy shit, I need to get these next running backs, and then these questionable guys always seem to be going in the second round. That's why you kind of want to be back here, in my opinion, in the drafts where you can take two running backs back-to-back. Michael Jordan, 96, 97. Now, we are back up on the board at the 210. Again, if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. So, right here is where I got a feeling a guy like Darren Waller may potentially go. Another tight end could end up going here. George Kittle as well, because he should return healthy with a different quarterback. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo will be the guy. But again, name value trumps everything in fantasy football. Doesn't fucking matter. Michael Thomas in the second round will get picked. He will get picked. Even if we don't know who the quarterback is, even if we've seen Michael Thomas not play as good this year, we still go ahead and draft him inside of the second round. He may even get picked much higher than this, if I'm being completely honest with you. Now back onto the running back train, because actually, this is where we're at full running back tilt mode. Because obviously there'll be other guys here like fucking ETN, guys like Harris, who are going to be on these teams. But right now, we have no idea. If the Dolphins don't draft a running back, Myles Gaskin should probably be a third-round pick due to his workhorseness. But here's where we may see a guy like Chris Carson probably come off the board. This guy is undervalued every single year on the Seattle Seahawks, one of the higher-scoring offenses in the NFL. To me, it's a no-brainer to select Chris Carson at the 211. And the final pick of the draft, we're going to hop back onto the wide receiver bus of faith and draft Mr. Calvin Ridley. He's going to be a second-round pick. This guy has been unreal this season. Unreal 2 years in a row. If I can click on him, maybe I can show his player card. Crazy. 17, 32, 26, 15, 17, 19, 21, 33, 29. The guy's just been unreal with or without Julio. But again, if Matt Ryan is not there, it's going to kind of affect what happens. But again, you just have to make these assumptions, and that's why I say to pick players in certain scenarios, because I believe the scenario may go their way or may end up going against them. So again, the first round of your 2021 Fantasy Football Mock Draft brought to you by Notorious Fantasy. That's me, motherfucker. Hit that subscribe button. I love you. Christian McCaffrey at the 101, followed by Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, Travis Kelce, Ezekiel Elliott, James Robinson, followed by Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Jonathan Taylor, Julio Jones, DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Michael Thomas, Chris Carson, and Calvin Ridley to close out the second round. So again, let me know what you guys thought about this mock draft. Did I completely miss on someone? Because I probably did. Did I end up picking completely fucked up into how you guys think you would draft in your 2021 NFL fantasy football drafts? Let me know. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, peace out. Happy fucking New Year. Boy!